The worst era of Nickelodeon by Monk. I can't lie, I'm most likely gonna disagree with this list. Like, in the thumbnail, he has Sanjay and Cred. I love Sanjay and Cred, man. I love Sanjay and Cred. And I know who he's gonna talk about next. He's gonna talk about Fanboy and Chum Chum. I loved Fanboy and Chum Chum. That shit was hilarious, man. It was hilarious. It was hilarious to me. I don't know. Maybe because I was the prime age for it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I love Sanjay and Cred, Fanboy and Chum Chum. Tough Puppy, right? That dog character. Fire. Stop playing. Like, it had some shows. I can't lie. Me, man, I don't know. I ain't gonna lie. To me, I was satisfied with it. I was happy. Like, they was good shows to me. They felt like a Johnny Test-esque, and I love Johnny Test.
Nickelodeon has been loved by all ages for decades.
Classic.
Since releasing the
I've never
first
watched
three
Rugrats in my
Nicktoons in the
life.
early 90s, Nickelodeon has become known as a predominantly cartoon channel. The 90s are revered as the golden age of cartoons, then the 2000s being a noteworthy successor that definitely started to falter as time went on. The next era,
look at that already. It's there already.
is
Stop playing, man.
arguably
That was a good show. It was good fun. It was good fun. Stop playing, bro. Stop playing.
the worst era, and I am here to tell you why. But
What
first,
is that?
a little bit of backstory.
Come on, man.
In the
Come on,
early
man. Got
90s,
the
they
Rick and Morty
introduced
eye.
Doug, Rugrats, and the Ren and Stimpy Show. These three would become the first Nicktoons. They proved to be
I've seen
very
Ren and
popular,
Stimpy's the
thus
best one to me.
Nickelodeon choosing a cartoon-oriented path. Rocko's Modern Life, Cat Dog, Angry Beavers, Our Real Monsters, Hey Arnold, and the Wild Thornberrys were soon to follow. All of these cartoons were very
classics,
successful and still remain icons today. They were original and wacky, and had humor that hadn't been seen in cartoons before. These cartoons made up the 90s, and is now known as the Golden Era. The next era was the SpongeBob era.
Big dog.
SpongeBob
Stop playing.
was and still is
Just
their
got that
cash
laugh.
cow.
That
So,
big
a
dog.
lot of their focus went to SpongeBob. The entirety of the 2000s was plastered with the yellow square. Even with SpongeBob's success,
They made that much money.
there were a
Facts.
handful of cartoons that came out around this time that were still very good. The Fairly Odd Parents,
Jimmy
Neutron,
Neutron,
Danny
Talk to Him,
Phantom, Invader Zim, My Life as a Teenage Robot,
classics.
Avatar, and Chalk
Yo,
Zone. The first half
Talk
of the
to 'em.
2000s was basically a sequel to the 90s.
Yo,
Original
yo.
cartoons, unique concepts and adventures, and very enjoyable to watch. The second half of the 2000s is where the decline began, but had
I
not
remember
fully
that show.
hit
What
rock
is that?
bottom. The shows they
What
were
is
making
that?
didn't necessarily drop in quality, but a lack in promotion and opportunity led them to fail. These shows were for the most part overshadowed by their more successful cousins like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents. These shows were Tack and the Power of Juju, El Tigre, The Mighty Bee, Cat Scratch, The X's, and Back at the Barnyard. Nickelodeon didn't really seem to give these shows a chance.
El Tigre was so fire, man. Oh my god. I think he got canceled or something. It was so fire. When he flicked that belt, will always be iconic. Stop playing with him.
And really only promoted
Stop
the big
playing
shows
with
that
'em.
they knew would perform well. In the
Facts.
last year of the 2000s,
Come on,
a
man.
show would be released that I think truly begins the descent into the worst
This
era.
show was-
Fanboy
bro, I love
and Chum
this show,
Chum.
man.
I know this dead horse
I
has
love
been
this
beaten
show.
so much, it's just pulp now. It's
Exactly.
trendy to hate
Yeah, I
on
know.
the show.
Exactly, it
and
is.
that's not
It is
what I'm here to do.
1000%.
I'm
That's why I'm
simply
like, die on this hill. This is a good show. This is a good show. Like, stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. It was funny. It was good for the time. It was alright, bro.
bringing
Like,
up the point that
get
this
outta
show
here.
relied heavily on poop humor. I'm not criticizing it, but it does set in motion a
True.
domino effect of terrible humor. I am now going to give an
Man, it was
overview
funny for
of
me.
all the Nicktoons during this
I
decade.
remember that episode when he took
17
off his
different
nose.
Nicktoons premiered in this decade,
I know when he
compared to
swapped
11 in the 90s and 17 in the 2000s. For the sake of the argument, I'm going to only go over actual Nicktoons, not every single animated show that aired this decade.
It was so
for
good. It
shows
was
like
just-
Rabbids Invasion, that most certainly helps my
Yeah, I
argument,
didn't like this.
will
I
not be
didn't
talked
like that.
about, as it is not categorized as a Nicktoon.
I don't know. At that age, it was funny. They kept on getting slushies, and they was like, yo, I'm high off slushies. Their eyes were like crazy. They was geeking on slushies. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, it fit the vibe. It was cool. It was alright. It didn't have a purpose, but it was just supposed to be like something you put on, something you laugh at. That's it, man. Like, I'm sick of adults talking about kids shows when it's really supposed to be meant for kids. They just supposed to laugh and just sit there and just laugh. That's it, yo. There's really no purpose. There's really no purpose other than just to laugh. Like, get out of here.
The first new Nicktoon of the decade was Planet Sheen, a super unnecessary
yeah.
spin-off to Jimmy
It
Neutron.
was
This spin-off was not well liked. Making side characters the main characters is usually a poor decision unless you're Saul Goodman. Sheen became overly
Facts.
annoying, the
Facts.
plots were too bizarre, in a bad way, And visually, the show wasn't the best thing Nick had to offer. Going back to the humor, it was definitely different. It wasn't like Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah.
It was reminiscent of Fanboy and Chum Chum. The ratings gave validity to these claims, and Nickelodeon canceled the show after one season. The next Nicktoon was Tough Puppy.
Yo, I
Being
like
that it was
this
created
show.
by Butch
I
Hartman,
like
the
this
same
show.
guy that
I
did
like this
Fairly
show
Odd
as a
Parents
kid.
and Danny
This is
Phantom,
nice.
it couldn't have been all bad, right? Well, it wasn't, but you could definitely
I
tell
like
the
this
shows
show.
were losing soul. I don't know how else to describe it than that. I get that I'm here to articulate my point with words, but this show feels like you took Fairly Odd Parents, drained the soul from it, and slapped on a spy theme. The next two shows are Winx Club and The Legend of...
I kind of get what he's saying, but like no soul. I think he really means like no purpose, or like nah. It's like missing something. I get what he's saying with that. But me personally, all these shows just feel like Johnny Test to me, and I love Johnny Test. Like all these shows felt like Johnny Test to me.
Korra. They do not fit into the category of terrible. They are the very few diamonds in the rough
I
of this
never
decade.
even watched this show.
Robot and Monster is the next show, and it just brings more of the same.
I remember this.
The show
What?
feels very empty, content-wise and visually. The humor this time isn't so much farting, but beating each other up and name-calling. There's nothing wrong with that humor, as it's probably the most common type of humor. But to have every joke based on it gets boring.
I
Very
forgot
fast.
about that show. That's
the 2012
crazy.
TMNT is an all-around fine show. It gets the job done.
I remember
I don't
this
have
one
any
too. It
strong
was aight.
opinions
It
on
was
it.
aight.
Sanjay and Craig are guilty of being
Fire.
one of the worst on the
Fire.
network. I could make the argument
Fire.
that it is worse than
Fire.
Fanboy and Chum Chum. It's probably
I don't
not,
care what he
but it's
says.
very
Fire.
close. It relies only
Fire.
on fart humor. It's like
Fire.
he took the worst quality out of all the popular
Fuego.
shows at the time and put it into one to make this show. It is just another show where a human and a non-human best friend duo go on really wacky adventures. Another thing this show has in common with all of the others that come after it is its hyperactivity. Fanboy and Chum Chum had it along with Tough Puppy, but it is right in your face with this show. Surely, this show is as bad as it gets.
I loved it. I don't know what these are, but I loved it. I love Sanjay and Craig. It looked like Bob Burgers. It felt like Bob Burgers to me a little bit, but with immature humor. Straight up, like you know what I'm saying? Like you know the cliches of a kid type show.
Nickelodeon really said, let's take Sanjay and Craig
Yeah, I don't
and
know
make
what
it
this
100
is though.
times worse.
I think I've actually
This
seen one of
show
these
is
episodes,
complete
but then I
brain rot
didn't really
humor,
like it.
if you can even call it humor. There
I
are
was
no
really
real
attached to the
stories for
characters.
episodes, just recycled
maybe I
junk
grew
you
out
have
of it
seen
at that
before.
point.
Annoying characters. So
Yeah.
much stuff to do with butts. It is absolutely unreal how this was created, and then continued to be created. Look on the bright side. Breadwinners is the worst this decade gets. Harvey
Dang.
Beaks was a breath of fresh air. And then Pig, Goat, Banana, and Cricket released, and you were right back into the mud. More hyperactive, over-exaggerated
I've never
animation
seen this. I don't know what
slop.
that is.
The Loud House is next.
Loud
and
House,
as it
fire.
is still running to this day, it
Fire.
has proven to be a much better show than the
Fire.
others. Even though I would argue the fart
plus for
jokes
this
and
generation.
hyperactivity is definitely still present. Bunsen is a
But it's
Beast,
A plus
the
for
fourth
this
show by
generation.
Butch Hartman, proved that it was more of what this decade has churned out. Yet again, a buddy duo where one is non-human and they go on way too wacky of adventures. Welcome to Wayne. It seems better than most. I can't give any personal anecdote as
Whoa,
I've never
what
seen
is
this
this?
one. Online, the most common criticism is that it is a Gravity Falls ripoff. 2 days after Welcome to Wayne aired, Fairly Odd Parents
Hopefully
was
that's
canceled.
terrible.
This now left SpongeBob and... well, nothing else, really. At this point,
That
no
would
show
never
besides
die.
SpongeBob had been airing for longer than a year or so, and their cash cow SpongeBob was getting worse and worse. Hang on, let me talk about that in a second. Let's finish off this decade.
SpongeBob has
There are
not
4
been good, or has not been the same. I mean, it hasn't been the same since season 3. And season 3 came out in what, 2002, 4, 5, whatever.
Nicktoons left of the decade. Only one of them still falls into the hyperactive poop humor category. The other 3 are reboots or spin-offs. This is the exact trend
we're in the
repeating
age of
itself.
spin-offs.
Let me
We're in
explain.
the age of spin-offs.
At the
Even
end
with
of the
movies,
2000s,
shows, everything.
Fanboy and Chum Chum introduced the poop humor, and it continued all throughout the decade. Now these 3 shows, The Adventures of Kid Danger, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and The Casa Grandes are all spin-offs and reboots. Now look at the 2020s so far. Almost 70% of the shows in the decade thus far are spin-offs, reboots, and licensed
Nothing
shows.
new.
It
Hey,
seems
would you rather have Fanboy and Chum Chum or SpongeBob a million times? Like, stop playing, bro. Or another spinoff. At least Fanboy and Chum Chum was original, slightly. Like, come on, man.
as if at the end of the decade they introduced shows that are indicative of
They're
what
about
is
to
to
make
come
Toy
in the
Story
following
1000
decade.
before I die.
Okay, now the decline of SpongeBob. It's been talked about endlessly. They say it got bad after the first movie. Whatever. I'm not here to dispute anything. I'm here to say at this point SpongeBob was arguably just bad. Look up the worst episodes of SpongeBob. No, I'll do it for you. The consensus is that A Pal for Gary is the worst. SpongeBob gets a new pet, and it tries to eat Gary. They literally rewrite SpongeBob to be dumber than usual to make the story work. Another terrible episode is One Course Meal, the episode where Mr. Krabs tortures and abuses Plankton, which is pretty out of character for Mr. Krabs.
Oh, he was scared of whales, and then he sicked his daughter on her or something like that.
Most of the worst episodes came out in this decade, so not only were their new shows bad, but their legacy shows were too.
Live action
Another point is the oversaturation of live-action shows. 29 live-action.
I ain't gonna lie. They was kind of really trying to copy Disney with that. Disney did that and kind of did swell with the Hannah Montana, Wizard Waverly Place. Like, they were trying to mimic that. Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on deck. That combination of both of them. Fire. That was fire. They were really trying to mimic Disney with that.
Shows premiered in this decade. But that's not all. There were other shows that didn't premiere in the 2010s, but were still airing new episodes, making the total 33.
Dang.
That's a lot of shows.
Hold up, let me see. iCarly, classic. Victorious, classic. Big Time Rush, classic. They ain't do that bad. Fred the Show, that's alright. Garbage. How to Rock, Marvin, I don't know. Sam and Cat, I think it was alright. It was alright if I remember correctly. I don't even know some of these, man. Like, my God. Night Squad, what the fuck is that?
Some of them aren't that bad.
Classics.
I mean, they're
Those are
sitcoms
classics.
with children lead actors.
Those are
They
classics.
can't be that good either. But some of them are especially heinous. Fred the Show. I can't fairly talk ill of all these shows because I have close to no knowledge about them. I only watched cartoons growing up, but all you need to do is look at the numbers. 33 shows running in a span of 10 years. It has to get watered down. It has to. I know the animation studio is probably completely separate from the live-action studio, with completely different budgets and everything, but I really wish more effort would have been spent on the cartoon side rather than live-action. You can clearly tell where Nickelodeon's focus went into this decade, and I believe this is a small contributing factor as to why the cartoons were so bad. Why did they cling to this type of humor? What made them think it was successful and funny?
Because it made kids laugh.
I can't tell you that. The only reason I can hypothesize, and it's
these are like billion-dollar corporations, bro. Billion-dollar corporations. They probably done a study. I was laughing at these jokes when I was a kid. It made kids laugh. Simple as that. Like, it's the simplest humor that can make kids laugh. Like, haha, or haha. Like, that's it, yo. Like, it's pretty simple. It's very simple.
A long stretch is for shock value. YouTube was becoming very successful and popular in the early 2010s, and by the mid-2010s was huge.
Exactly.
The network saw this huge shift in viewership, where the kids, instead of watching cartoons, were watching their favorite YouTubers play video games, or vlogging or what have you. I'm guessing maybe this was their attempt to catch people's eyes and be like, look at us. We have this crazy, wacky, over-exaggerated junk.
Exactly.
Look,
you know exactly
I know that's not a very good reason, but I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel. I can't think of any other reason why any executive in their right mind would approve the poop humor. Not much has changed into the 2020s. The poop humor shows are definitely decreasing in quantity. However, they are just being replaced with reboots, spin-offs, and other licensed IPs. We're definitely in a reboot era right now. Everyone is doing it. And there aren't tons of unique new movies or shows. It only makes sense that Nickelodeon follows suit. Make sure you check out my other videos. I have quite a few about Nickelodeon and other...
I actually think, they probably really are followers, right? Did they follow? They didn't follow Cartoon Network. Who did it first? Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon? Who did it first? But they definitely followed Disney with the live action. Disney, they crushed with that live action. I ain't gonna lie. At least in the term of culture. I don't know how much money they made, but in the term of like staying power, like I still remember that Prindle joke. That is hilarious. That was hilarious.
You're making me nervous with all this technical talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why don't we just relax and turn on the radio? Would you like am or film?
Yeah, he's right about Nickelodeon becoming way worse, losing its soul. A lot of companies lost its soul. I can't lie, a lot of them. Why did back then we think corporations had soul? Because they kind of did. They was coming with original ideas. It felt different than it did today. Now it feels way more soulless. Back then it felt way different. Or maybe we're getting older. I don't know.